Okay, so I have my blocking for the most part. I've had y'all clean up your blockings a little bit more. As you go forward, you probably won't have to do that much cleaning up. It doesn't need to be super exact in the beginning, but it's good to focus on that skill for y'all. And now I've kind of marked the shadow boundaries. I haven't done that much measuring for some of the more complex shadows. It's just kind of, yeah, I see a shadow here, it's going to be here, it's going to be light, it's going to be a shadow, it's going to be light, it's going to be light, it's going to be shadow. You'll hear a lot of people kind of call it the principle of shading and the principle of separating your light shapes and your dark shapes as Notan. It's a Japanese design kind of idea, but I don't know that I agree with that. That's a little controversial, but Notan is more specifically for separating, dark and light shapes or black and white shapes in design, and usually that ends there. A lot of representational drawing would refer to this step as Notan because what we do is separate the light and the dark, and it's kind of to make you abstractly think about value. You only want to focus on the dark and the light shapes, and you really want to kind of blur those together in the beginning because it will help with your accuracy. If you're focusing on like the little corkscrew bits, the threading, that kind of detail more than the actual mass shapes, your drawing probably won't be as successful because one, that detail all the way up in here, and that's kind of the only place to really have detail in these, is not nearly as important as the shadow masses being correct and the white masses being correct. You can get away with drawing face and not even putting necessarily eyes or details or eyelashes in it. But if your light masks are correct, it looks abstract, but it will be more convincing of a accurate face than it would be if you get all the tiny details that can be much funner. But if you lock into, one of the reasons I like this is because it's a little more, it'll tell you where your proportions are right and wrong because you're making those shapes more concrete with a comparison of the shadow. And this is still a super fluid stage. So you can, if you realize, oh, that mass actually feels too big. Now that I put the shadow in, I realize that it needs to be a little smaller. You can still totally adjust, especially if you've only drawn in the fine charcoal at this point. Okay, so I mark all of this as shadow. This is cat shadow, so I'm just gonna color this in. I'm gonna be a little careful. I don't want to be super sloppy, but you don't have to be super precise, I think, on this either. Where I did do quite a bit of measuring in here, so I don't want to just totally blow these shadows out together, but you can. I wouldn't be super sloppy just because they don't have to really measure that. I'm talking specifically about like this boundary down here. So what I'm going to do with the vine is kind of work it to be until I get like it as a 5. So I'm kind of looking for, I know that I won't be able to get the darkest spots, but I'm just laying it in and simplifying that in there because then I can just go back with the compressed and build on top of those dark spots because those dark spots are going to be within the shadows that I'm already drawing. And I'm not super worried about the light spots either, in terms of like form shadow that's in the lighter area. Those will be easier to get later on. I just want to kind of solidify my masses. Here, there. Actually, this is a cat shadow too. So I would do this for the whole drawing. And then I take my eraser and probably sharpen back up these edges. And then I build another layer because I can get probably 2 or 3 more layers. But now I'm kind of, ideally this would be colored in, 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 this would be colored in. And then I'd start looking, okay, where do I need to, because this might be the perfect value for some areas. This is already like maybe a 3. So I would make sure like, oh, in the 3, you know, you kind of have a 3 in here, it looks like. Then you don't need to kind of go over that. You just go into the area that's darkest and continue layering at those spots. Do you think of it as like a topographical map where, you know, there's like the cutouts from above, and the peak is kind of the smallest, you know, shape inside of that? It's kind of like that, where eventually I'll just be building up in this shape, because that's going to be the darkest area, and I'll just be a little more cautious when I kind of blend that, so I don't mess up all the values I've done building up to it. But taking it from this lighter aspect and darkening, building up your darks, and then when you're like, okay, I can't go any darker than that, I could probably go like 1 more value darker, then I'll get out my charcoal pencil and it'll probably be right underneath these objects where there's like a little bit of light, like there's no light getting underneath them. I might be able to build up, I'm saying this as a general thing because I would rather build this up entirely and then judge that, but you're probably just going to be, you know, in your darkest areas, and here, maybe a little bit in the cast shadow. But judge that later on, build up kind of the 1 to 5, 1 to 6 values first, and then go into the total darkness. And the total, you're going to be working smaller shapes as you go. I would go, yeah, I would go, you know, all of this, I have it all marked out in this, and I would probably spill over just a little bit more than I did, just so that we can get that form shadow and the light going. That's kind of all I would need in some areas. I already have 1, 2, 3, 4 at least values in, and then you can look for more and more. Well, where is one area darker now? And it's going to change in context too, because as you build up areas darker, you're going to realize, oh, this area over here should be as dark as this area over here, or it should look that way. And you're going to have to kind of recontextualize things more and more. So it might seem a little unintuitive, but making sure that in between your trees blending, you go and sharpen up these shapes with the heated eraser will help. And you want to kind of get rid of largely your outlines if they're dark. And being kind of sloppy like I was being will kind of help you get rid of those outlines because you're already losing them. And we're moving away from drawing with kind of any line almost, and really just drawing with value and building up values more. So does that make sense? I'll be around to help you. Just look at what's light and what's dark and isolate those 2 things. And then, okay, now how to find another value, right? Find another value in between or another value darker in certain areas. So find charcoal between. Okay, got it.
Give me 1 second. It's just gonna be there.
Yeah, I think you're right. Most people are going to be totally okay to start going to surrounding sound. Oh, okay. Max. You can abbreviate it basically as just a block, and then as you go value it, it might be easier to like overcompensate. Instead of actually drawing. Let's go with it. Something else. Oh yeah, it's fine. Yes, I think I would do what you're doing here is putting it in the map shape. That looks fine. But some of that might be easier to start to right? Once you put the values in, it's kind of easier to carve that shape with the eraser. Especially since we're going to kind of lose these outlines a little bit anyway. Yeah. Yeah. I would try to pretending you can see through those shapes and draw this. We'll probably help just to kind of estimate, yeah. And then you can adjust that later on. It's totally fine if you are like guessing, you check what your measurements are wrong. Sometimes that's really easier than waiting to get all the measurements right. I can be a little bit slower in the process. Whereas if you're guessing, I guess it's about this big. Oh, okay. It's actually a little bit bigger. Find that a little bit quicker process.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
I would do it for parallel. You can get away with one. I would do it. It looks thicker. And it almost. And you can really just soften that because it almost fits well. I think if you go into value, you can go into the research. That means carve into it. And it won't. I think your proportional line. I think that. It's